What's up, everybody? It's L to the B. Just thought I'd make a quick video. Guys, thank you so much for watching the content. Even if you're not liking or subscribing on anything that you're viewing, I'm okay as long as you're watching. At least I know somebody is finding some level of watch attainment. I don't know what to call it. But anyways, today I've worked out and I'm very sleepy in making this video, but I wanted to do it really quick. Watch this with you. I think people are vibing off the watch party. At least that's what the analytics are saying. And the time frames that everybody is watching it between. It's usually about late at night. Nobody has anything else to do, so I get lucky if I make some videos. So today, and like I said, I'm a little sleepy and I'll probably take a nap. But I wanted to mention something of what my experience has been like earlier today. So I went ahead and my vibe state is good. I've already done some other stuff in my house. I've taken care of some things outside. I'm taking care of myself bit by bit, day by day with my self-care. And so I'm laying up there on the bed. I'm watching like some old shows, whatnot. Oh, I made my video this morning, the thank you video that probably nobody looked at, but that's okay. Well, as soon as I got off that, as soon as I was about to get off, I had a call come in from the boss man. So I'm like, all right, let's see what the heck he wants. So I pick it up and he's like, hey, what do you got going on tomorrow? This is just to show you the wave of effect that happens in the universe. He has not contacted me for any level of support like this in over almost damn near the entire time I've been with her. It was almost the universe put everything as a reward or gold or anything else that could come in and benefit me. They put it on hold. Universe is like, we can't have you messing this up with this party member. So I was withheld, I guess. I don't know. But here it is. Today, I got that call after that video. And here he is wanting me to go out and do a PR thing with some medical people and a football player. And I'm like, NFL football player, cool. And the medical staff, cool. He goes, you get some more connections. I'm like, great. Yeah, I like connections. You know that. And I'm in a good state to do it. So I'll be meeting with the people tomorrow. That'll be after I meet with the first ex to discuss my quote-unquote problems, somebody to talk about, but really ain't. I'm going to be talking about my kid and just finding out exactly what she wants to do there as far as schooling is concerned. Because I think that is the bulk of the conversation, what it should be on. Just my opinion. But anyways, moving on. I got this video up here, and oh yeah, I forgot to say. So I was laying up on my bed later, and something told me, is like, well, I had one girl that was a client from last week. She wanted to possibly meet up this week and do something just to release her mind from a relationship she's in. I'm like, yeah, okay, no problem. And so I reached out and touched base with her, and let me tell you, they're like super, super wealthy. She's I like to categorize, or not really categorize, but I like to classify who the people are, what I've noticed in them. And so I could see she's very well off, very successful in her line of work. I'm just impressed with her all around. I just boost her up. And her husband, who I don't think is a bad guy, I don't know anything else that he does besides a lot of hard labor work. And he does, I think he's a bartender on the side, and probably the best bartender on the planet. And so this is as much context as I have on that situation, and I've hung out with her multiple times. So she wants to connect this Saturday. So that's another person, and at least a female, that I can be around, kind of relax, and just kind of get warmed back up to this experience of going out with other people, and opposed to this little small box that I was left with in the narcissist situation I was in. I hate to talk about it like that, but it was what it was. And then I was like, let me touch base with this other girl that I had speculations about being a narcissist, but I still can't I can't really say for sure. There are little trademarks that are like, but I watch. And she knows that. And she's very smart. She's constantly paying attention to minute details and has kept track of what I've even said in the past and related it to now. So the question is, me touching base back with her, will I get back into another narcissistic relationship? Time will tell. But I will tell you something that I definitely want to clarify going into this with her. And I mean, she screwed up the one relationship that I actually enjoyed, but that was probably a good thing. But I will clarify a lot of my boundaries at the beginning. And there's some things that I matured on from the time I was with her till now. Used to be then that I was very sexually attracted to her, wanted to progressively move this thing through quick because time is a valuable resource and you would like to find out this person is going to be somebody compatible with you. So why not move forward and quit being a child about life? But she's very slow because she's been damaged in the past. And people always say, don't go with damage. Everybody's damaged. You know, when you walk into this area and you haven't just, been avoidant of the entire world, you're going to be damaged. So at some level, you're going to have to learn to deal with or cope with their stuff. And you got to find your happy medium if it's something you can accept or not. I've already told her my boundaries long ago, which is what made her cry a whole lot. And I apologize greatly for that, but it was necessary for me to do and say what I had to say then. That's in the past. So we're rekindling everything. And I told her to send a text. I'm like, Jazz Sunday. Because that's what we used to do. We used to go out, listen to jazz every Sunday. And she was like, oh, gosh, I'm going to Dixie Chicks concert. I'm like, oh, that's going to be good. That's fun, whatever. And she's like, but I totally would. And she wants to get back with me and start talking. And we share our situations. We went over a whole bunch of little funny, silly stuff. But nothing really skipped a beat. She's always been kind of just hanging out, waiting, I think. And that's cool. I would do the same, if I was, curious about a partner. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If not, it's not. Moving on. So those two things went really well. Planning on getting back up with her. And I probably have a smorgasbord of other relationships or activities I can get in. But I'm limiting it just to that too while I'm doing the self-care stuff. And that's enough for me. Enough about my stories and fun adventures that's happening. I want to play this video as a watch party because we can look at how this stuff goes with narcissists. I guess the content is narcissists hope happens after they discard you. And I was listening to some of it and I was like, yep, totally see that. So let's stay tuned and let's watch.
Significant other. I can't tell you how many times people in my coaching practice, they'll tell me I'm not the real me. And I'm like, well, who is the real you? And they always say, well, I can tell you the who I became and the who I was. Like, it's so clear in their mind that there are two different personalities, the one before the narcissist and the one after. Now, if you grew up with narcissistic parents, you don't have that distinction, that before and after. You just have this sense that you've never been allowed to be you. And so when the relationship ends, if you were to start becoming empowered, creating agency in yourself, living in alignment with more empowering beliefs, like I am worthy, I am enough, I am lovable, I am amazing, instead of the beliefs that they put in you, which were I'm not enough, I'm unworthy, I don't deserve, I'm a failure, all negative things. That's a huge blow to their way of seeing themselves. Because if you thrive, that means that they are powerless over you. And nothing makes them more happy than, sadly, destroying you while they're in the relationship with you, and then watching you continue the job of destroying self by staying living in those limiting, disempowered beliefs. They don't want you to move on. They don't want you to get happy. The second thing that they would love is for you to be stuck living the way they live. Malignant narcissists live life through a false core. They are not authentic beings. They are not living from a place of authenticity. They have a false self. And when they want to impress people, instead of becoming a good person, they polish their false self and they live life through that false self. Well, they know that their targets have the potential to be authentic human beings. Sometimes the target doesn't even realize that they have that potential, but the narcissist knows that.
That is so very true. I mean, like, one thing that I could tell whenever I was in the first relationship with that narcissist, some of the comments is always like, I can tell you have all this amazing ability and this and that. And it's just like envy was settle in. And then like on this next one, like The same things were coming up again, like, you're just so amazing. You got so much skill set. You got so much of this. And I'm just like, I appreciate it if it's honest, genuine comments. But when it's flattery, or if it's like, I'm saying that, but behind it, I'm envious and I legit just hate that you're better than me. I don't want to deal with somebody in competition. I think you all can relate.
And so there's nothing that they would like more than to make you live in a false self the way they live in a false self. And one of the ways they go about this is by slowly removing your free will, your right to be yourself, your right to have your own feelings, your right to have your own thoughts. And they do this by every time you have your own perspective, every time you disagree, simply because you're two separate people and you see things differently, and they shame you. What happens is your nervous system no longer feels safe being you. You don't feel safe giving your perspective. You don't feel safe showing people who you really are. You just lose touch with that felt sense of inner safety. And as a result, when we don't feel safe inside, when we don't feel safe being ourselves, we stop being ourselves. We stop living in the realm of authenticity, and we begin living life as a false self. Now, it's different than the narcissist. It's not a mirage to pretend to be something, although in a way, we are pretending when we are in that false core, but it's a false core that is really what in the CPTSD community we call a protective self. So rather than an authentic self, we are living in a protective self. The narcissist doesn't have an authentic self. They live in a false self. Our protective self is a false self. It's not who we really are. And the protective things that we do when we're stuck in our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, we think are personality traits. No, they are trauma responses, but they tend to happen over a long period of time. And so we begin identifying with that as that is who we are. Oh, I'm a people pleaser. You may be acting like a people pleaser, but it's coming from a trauma response of not feeling safe being me. I'm going to stop being me to be someone else that makes you happy so I can feel safe.
That's so very true. I commented on this in a different video that whenever you're in a partnership with somebody, you start to take on the characteristics of that other person. Usually, there's a change that happens, there's a bonding, and it's kind of like that, well, I will give up some things, I will compromise some things because this is a partnership, and it should be a mutual thing where we're not going to be 100%, but I can work on some things on my own. And sometimes it's a good thing that you can work on your own. I don't want to totally discount being the change, but what she's saying is very true in the sense that you adopt this protective self not knowing that you've affected your nervous center, and that carries through in everything else. One thing Jim Rohn says, and I like Jim Rohn, that's why I preach about him a lot, is that when you affect one discipline, you affect all the other disciplines. When you affect self, and you've changed and altered self, you affect all other selves. So when this protective self takes the forefront, and it becomes the guardian, even if it's not authentic, it is in fact the self. And it starts to carry through, and it starts to create this inner dialogue that you are this person, that you are this people pleaser, and that you just don't, you do things in accordance with what other people do, what other people expect of you, instead of what you expect of yourself or just care to do for yourself, and saying who gives a whatever. It takes a lot of almost becoming narcissistic to be a little authentic in this sense versus being codependent and just at the whims of your narcissistic relationship.
It all goes back to no longer living in authenticity, but living in a protective self. Narcissists would love to keep you living in a false self, a protective self rather than who you are, because if they can't be authentic, why should you? The third thing they would love for you to do, they would love for you to waste time trying to prove to everybody who the real abuser is. You see, because they're an expert manipulator. And so they have way longer than you realize it. They have been laying the foundation for people to believe that you are the problem and they're a victim of you. And so when you finally wake up and either they discard or you leave the toxic relationship, they've already had a long time setting the groundwork for people to view you as the problem.
See, that is 1,000% what I feel like is the truth. She's been doing this me to our mutual friends who I think are a little bit wiser to her bullshit and so have been a little bit more kinder to me anyways. Because give you an example, one of the things that used to be the problem instead of me having just a kid was that I don't think I can be with somebody that can't drink. What kind of bullshit reason is that? You can't be with this person that you're obviously in love with, bullshit with, because they actually have an they actually have their own opinion of what they want or what not to want, and they don't want to drink. And why should that ruin anything in a connection? Unless it's losing, it doesn't allow them to have control. You know, some people can only be really intimate when they're drinking. And so what? Does she feel like I'm just like hiding behind something when I don't drink? I don't allow myself to let my guard down? No, it's just a lack of control. So then it moved over from one thing to something else. And I can tell you from the different people that I was with it initially, their facial responses and interactions from me, they changed. They really changed. And I'm like, oh, there they are again. And they're kind of like looking at me like, it's coming. And you're like, thanks for telling me, but not saying anything. You know, like you could automatically see. When I said something to her daughter on the time I met with her last, you know, they were doing like a FaceTime back and forth, and I was just like, hey, Bubba, you know, and they were like, hey. And, you know, I was like, they've never sounded that way before. It was already laid out. Like she's saying right there, they try to recruit their people and lay the flying monkeys before you start snapping into it. You're the last to know, but even when you do know, I was paying attention. So I already knew this was on the horizon. She just wouldn't come straight with me because she's looking for a way to torture it out. Because it has to be, there has to be a discard, but I have to set up everything before that discarding can happen. So stupid. But whatever, they do that crap.
And now you're going to come and try to prove your truth. They love when you do this because they know that you cannot stand up against them in a manipulation battle. You are a honest person, a real person, and they are an expert manipulator. And so they twist and turn things. And so the reason they would love for you to do this after the relationship is because it continues to distract you from your life. Guess who you're focusing on? Whether it's positive or negative supply to the narcissist, it is still supply when you are focused on them.
Case in point for why I'm making these videos, I feel like it's really freaking annoying because I am not on my own individual path, but I do this kind of as a side service to anyone who's going through anything crazy in a narcissistic relationship experience. So I am just spending a little bit of time with the community. I don't know how much longer it'll continue because I have lost a lot of interest on just talking about her. And that's one key area that you know you're moving through this a lot better swiftly. We don't even mention about it. I'm not going out to have to defend myself to anyone. If there are brave enough to come and speak to me about our relationship after it's been broke up, then I will speak. And there's nothing to defend on. And it'll be very clear. It'll be, she said she broke up with me because of our kid, because I have a kid. And she can't picture a life with me having a kid. And so that was the reason. And she said, I've done nothing wrong. She's like, I have been in the right the whole time. And she admits doing it over text like a wimp, like a coward. So that would be my truth as it stands. That's the last truth I have. And if they start to go, there was some other stuff about it. Yeah, I bet there was other stuff. Now you can understand what I was experiencing the entire relationship. Their crap stands to serve as a testament or a truth for your truth. You only have to stick with the truth. There's nothing you have to defend yourself on. If it was something that they took an information and repackaged it for delivery somewhere else, let them do that. Let them do all of that. Because at the end of the day, they never came to you and addressed it with you like a civilized, mature adult. All you have to do is say, you know what? Ask her why she never bothered to say anything to me about any of the problems she obviously has, or thoughts or beliefs. And isn't it interesting that she would do and say all these different things before she decided to get rid of me? Seems like a little symptomatic of some kind of personality trait. We all know what it looks like. And I would question you guys staying friends or continuing to talk with that individual. Because if it goes sideways with you twos, who knows what might happen? I know she's talked some about you guys sometimes, but it ain't my place to say anything about that or to make her look bad. It is what it is. The fact that I even have the discussion about it is the problem. And that would be what it would be easy to diffuse trying to defend your honor from after a breakup with one of them. So they got their own party group. Let them party on, right?
When your energy is being given out because of them or to them or for them. And so you're not focusing on you. You're focusing on trying to prove to people that don't believe you most of the time, because again, you were set up. And this keeps you from living your life, and it further invalidates you. It further gaslights you. It further confuses you and makes you feel isolated and alone. They would love for that to happen. So what are you supposed to do? Do you play into those three things? Hopefully not. To help you to not fall into any of those three things, here are just a few suggestions. When it comes to what the narcissist did with breaking apart your foundation of who you are, that does not get rebuilt by time. Just like if somebody hits me with their car and breaks my legs, and I don't go to the hospital and I don't get my legs put in casts and I don't get them fixed, with time, I may not feel the same intensity of pain that I felt when I first had the accident, but I won't be able to walk normal either. There will be a definite distinction with how I walked before and after the accident if I don't get healed. Well, it's the same thing with our life. We were, in a way, our soul, right? Our inner self, our authentic self, our self-image was all distorted because of the gaslighting and the manipulation. If you just remove the toxic person, which is helpful, right? To not have people in your life that are trying to destroy you. That's helpful. But if that's all you do and you just let time go on, you will always feel that distinction of who you were before the relationship and who you became after. Because just like with my legs, they need attention from a doctor to be healed. Our inner self needs attention. Time is not going to heal trauma wounds. The wounds that are in the nervous system, that have affected the brain, that have affected the subconscious, they need help. They don't go away with time. So you need to be willing to do the inner work, which, by the way, just to throw out there, we meet live on Zoom in Thriver School of Transformation. Each month we have a different theme where we talk about working through narcissistic abuse and CPTSD. We talk about it through the lens of coaching and somatic experiencing so that we're using our mind and our body. When it comes to deconstructing a false self, that's the CPTSD recovery work that's challenging because it's not just about learning. We can know what we should do, what we shouldn't do after narcissistic abuse, how we should see things, what the correct mindset is. We can have all that logic and yet feel unable to implement it, right? Let me know in the comment section if you've ever learned what you want to do and how you want to do it, and yet you go to do it and it's almost like your body won't let you. That's because when we are in a protective self, our own body now does the work for the narcissist in a way. Our own body keeps us from doing things that consciously we would love to do, But because they were met with such shame, insults, abandonment from people we expected to love us, our own body starts freaking out when we go to do things that we were formerly shamed and abandoned for. And so it freaks out in the sense that we start getting discomfort in the body. We call it procrastination, but it's really just our body's way of saying, I don't feel safe to do that. And so we stay stuck in that protective self until we do the inner work. And again, deconstructing a protective self takes time. It's not I'm going to watch this video and tomorrow my protective self is gone. It's a gradual shrinking of the trauma wounds and a gradual increasing of your own inner agency.
So whenever I speak about how I'm getting better, and I'm feeling like tremendous, and I feel like I got momentum, I still have not taken care of the big elephant in the room, jumping on my main goals and ambitions. However, I'm thankful to be that much closer to it. Well, what she's speaking about here is so very true, that you have to heal. And here's the one thing that comes to me during part of my meditation practice. It says, screw that project right now. Still keep getting better, because I'm making progress, and I don't let that bum me out. And I still have like an extreme amount of motivation in my body right now. So that's already a big plus. And it, just like she's saying, it takes time, but you will feel like this backward inertia when you go to make movement in that area. Like, hey, no, I don't feel like it. And that's okay, because it's like she's saying, it's a gradual process, navigating into that and then getting back out. But remember, I was very conscious throughout my entire relationship to kind of be on safeguard from making sure I didn't get too hurt. Almost like putting on bumper pads, so that I did get hurt, but I didn't get hurt as bad as I could have.
Takes place. So I think the one thing that I see a lot of people do is they give up too fast, or they get help for one symptom and then they just stop giving attention to themselves. And then sure enough, because they didn't do all the inner work to get to their authentic self, they wind up either staying stuck, or in another relationship that only reveals those wounds are still there. So I want to encourage you, when you find a program, when you find something that resonates with you to overcome narcissistic abuse, stay with it long enough that it penetrates your subconscious, so that the shifts that you're making last. And the last thing, when it comes to the smear campaign, when it comes to trying to prove your truth, the reality, the secret that the narcissist does not want you to realize is that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Your belief in you is way more powerful than 50 people believing in you, because once those 50 people are gone, if your validation is only dependent on how they see you, the second they're gone, you're going to feel that insecurity again. What are people thinking? Do people think this of me? Am I the abuser? What's going on? How are people seeing me? Once you learn what it's like to feel the strength of your own inner validation, it won't matter. If people believe you, it'll be wonderful. It'll be like the icing on the cake, right? It'll be bonus. If they don't believe you, it won't touch you, because you believe you. So part of the recovery is learning how to trust yourself again. So that's kind of the rewiring parts that we have to do as well with our nervous system and with our belief system. So those are some things to help. In a nutshell, the narcissist wants one thing from you after the discard. They want you to stay stuck. By you getting you back, it's the most empowering thing you can do for yourself.
Well, there you have it. We've watched all that together, and from what I can say and what I can see, what she's saying is spot on. I mean, like, I think that all that makes sense to me. My light blinking over here? Like, I don't really need it anyways. Is it gonna stay on? Okay. But what she's saying is correct, and it doesn't matter what the other people are thinking, as long as you're self-driven, you're within your sovereignty of who you are, you have your agency, is what she's saying. Yes, you'll be just fine. These other people, if they cared about you or believe in you, they believe in you. Look, she already has a track record. Let me tell you, this is what was cracking me up. when I would go there, there's her grandson, and he would always call me this other guy's name, hey, Greg, or something really off. And he knew what he was saying because he was making fun of the situation. Like, hey, you're like this other guy. I'm going to start calling you the other guy's name. And he's like only 7, but he already knows. And she was getting furious with him. She's like, that is not cool. That is not, don't do that. No. Like, I was like, it's okay. I don't care if he calls me the other dude's name. What is it? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll be that dude. And me and him are like pounding up, we're chuckling about it because I'm whole in myself. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be just like him. I already was thinking that when the kid said it. I was like, yeah, man, I'm just here buying time, seeing what this experience with another narcissist is like. Even though I wasn't calling her that, visualizing, hell, I think I might have thought about it, but I forgot about it. You always just mostly watch for what is not acceptable to you, meaning that you acknowledge the ways of others, but you respect your own first. And so that's my philosophy. And so I was whole. I felt good with myself. I was just observing. And it was things that if I don't like that, I don't have to deal with it. If I'm okay with it, cool. Can we love them for who they are despite their drawbacks? Could she love me for who I am despite my drawbacks? Because I have my drawbacks, but they're not even on the table. They're not even in the room. And so how are they treating me now? Because if it was the big problem, they're not in her face, and they probably would never be in her face. And I would do some things in the reverse order just to show that I'm okay with some of the other stuff that she thinks I'm not okay with. So it was always a good idea, and you should do this in your relationships because you're going to find out what they are willing to tolerate from you and what you're willing to tolerate from them. And this was perfect. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter what the other people think. They probably already know, just like the little kid, the little grandson knows. And there'll probably be another one that shows up along the way, and he's going to be calling him my name, or he might call him the other guy 3.0, and he's going to be going, the other guy's going to be going, gosh, because he knows he's in the same sequence, cycle, whatever you want to call it, next up the bat. So I hope this resonates with some people. I ain't going to spend any more time. Please like, subscribe, watch videos if you want to. I'm out. I like to cut this short. Peace.